You don't need more motivation. You don't need another video. You don't need another quote, another speech, another promise to start tomorrow. Because the truth is simple and uncomfortable. Nothing is stopping you. Not your past, not your situation, not your people, not your environment. The only thing standing between you and the life you want is you. And that's the part nobody wants to hear. We live in a world where everyone wants results, but almost no one wants responsibility. Everyone wants success, but without silence, without loneliness, without discipline. But real change doesn't come like that. Real change doesn't arrive loudly. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't post updates. It doesn't wait for validation. It happens quietly, in the moments nobody sees. When you choose discipline over comfort. When you choose focus over distraction. When you choose pain now, for freedom later. Let me ask you something real. What if your life is not stuck? What if you are just inconsistent? What if you don't need a breakthrough? What if you need discipline? Because the version of you that you keep dreaming about already exists in theory. But it's not theory that changes your life. It's execution. And execution requires silence. Most people don't understand this. They think change is emotional. They get hyped. They get inspired. They feel powerful for a few hours. Then reality hits. And they go back to the same habits, same distractions, same excuses, same comfort loop. And then they wonder why nothing changes. But here's the truth most people avoid. Your life is literally a reflection of your daily habits. Not your dreams, not your potential, not your intentions. Your habits. And habits are built in silence. When no one is watching. When no one is clapping. When no one is even aware you're trying. That's where your future is being built. Right there. In the invisible hours. And here's the uncomfortable part. Most people are addicted to noise. They need validation to feel progress. They need attention to feel real. They need approval to feel enough. But growth doesn't work like that. Growth requires distance. Distance from distractions. Distance from people who don't understand your vision. Distance from the version of you that settles too easily. There will be a phase in your life where nobody claps for you. Nobody believes in your plan. Nobody sees your effort. And that phase is not a punishment. That phase is a gift. Because when no one is watching you, you finally start watching yourself. And that's where transformation begins. You stop performing. You start building. You stop explaining. You start executing. You stop seeking approval. You start seeking progress. And slowly, something changes inside you. You become harder to distract, harder to convince, harder to break. Because you start realizing something powerful. Your future is not created in public. It is created in private. In the quiet mornings when you don't feel like getting up. In the late nights when you choose work over comfort. In the moments when you feel tired, but still continue. That's where identity changes. Not in motivation, in repetition. And if you are waiting for a perfect moment, stop. Because perfection is just procrastination in disguise. There is no perfect start. There is only a decision. A decision to stop waiting. A decision to stop negotiating with your weakness. A decision to become serious about your own life. And I need you to understand this clearly. You are not behind. You are not late. But you are not consistent either. And consistency is the price of transformation. Not talent, not luck, not timing. Consistency. Do the work when you feel nothing. Do the work when you feel everything. Do the work when nobody is watching. Because that's the difference between someone who dreams and someone who becomes. So right now, don't ask for motivation. Ask for discipline. Don't ask for shortcuts. Ask for strength. Don't ask for easy. Ask for real. Because easy life doesn't build strong people. And strong people are built in silence, not applause, not recognition, silence. Most people don't fail because they are not capable. They fail because they are distracted. And the scary part is, they don't even realize it. They wake up every day thinking they're trying. But in reality, they are just reacting. Reacting to notifications. Reacting to emotions. Reacting to comfort. reacting to whatever feels easiest in the moment. And that's exactly how a life gets wasted. Slowly, silently, without anyone noticing. Nobody wakes up and decides to ruin their life. It happens through small choices. One skipped discipline, one delayed responsibility, one unnecessary distraction, and then it becomes a pattern, a lifestyle. Most people are not stuck because life is hard. They are stuck because comfort is addictive. Comfort feels safe. Scrolling feels easy. Avoiding responsibility feels peaceful. But that peace is the most dangerous illusion. Because while you are comfortable, your future is getting smaller, and smaller, and smaller. Until one day you wake up and realize, time didn't stop for you. It moved on. And you stayed the same. Let's be honest. Most people are not building anything. They are consuming everything. Videos, opinions, entertainment, other people's lives. They are so busy watching life that they forget to live their own. And then they wonder why nothing changes. But how can your life change when your habits don't? You want a different life, but you repeat the same day. Every single day. Same wake-up pattern, same distractions, same excuses, same escape habits, and you call it normal. But normal is exactly why most people never change. Because normal is comfortable. And comfort kills growth silently. Another big reason people fail is validation addiction. They don't act until someone approves. They don't move until someone supports. They don't believe in themselves until someone else does. But think about how dangerous that is. If your life depends on external approval, then you are never truly in control of it. You are just waiting. Waiting for motivation. Waiting for timing. Waiting for confidence. Waiting for someone to believe in you. And while you wait, life moves. The truth is simple. Nobody is coming. Nobody is going to wake you up. Nobody is going to fix your habits. Nobody is going to build your discipline. That responsibility is yours alone. And that's where most people break, not because they are weak, but because they are dependent. Dependent on feelings, dependent on motivation, dependent on mood. But discipline doesn't care how you feel. Discipline only responds to action. Even when you are tired, even when you are unmotivated, even when you don't feel ready, you still show up. That's what separates people. Not talent, not intelligence, not background, consistency. And here's something uncomfortable. Most people don't fail suddenly. They fail gradually. They stop doing small things right. They skip routines. They ignore goals. They delay decisions. And slowly, they become someone they never intended to be. Not because of one big mistake, but because of thousands of small ignored moments. Another reason people stay stuck is fear. Fear of failure. Fear of judgment. Fear of not being enough. But fear is strange. It grows when you avoid it. The more you run from it, the bigger it becomes. And the only way to shrink fear is action. You don't think your way out of fear, you act your way out of it. Every time you do something you were afraid of, you weaken that fear. And every time you avoid it, you strengthen it. So the real question is not, can I do it? The real question is, am I willing to face discomfort long enough to change? Because change always feels uncomfortable at first. Always. There is no version of growth that feels easy in the beginning. And that's why most people quit early. They confuse discomfort with failure. But discomfort is not failure. It's the beginning of transformation. If it feels hard, it means you are leaving your old identity. And that's exactly where most people stop. Right before they change. So when you look at your life right now, don't ask, why am I not there yet? Ask, what am I repeating every day that is keeping me here? Because your future is not controlled by one decision. It is controlled by repeated behavior. And until your behavior changes, your life will not. Not tomorrow. Not next month. Not next year. Change starts the moment repetition changes. Being overlooked is not your weakness, it's your advantage. but only if you understand how to use it. Most people hate being ignored. They hate not being seen, not being respected, not being acknowledged. It makes them feel small. It makes them doubt themselves. It makes them want to prove something immediately. And that's where they lose. Because the moment you start chasing validation, you lose focus on building value. You stop growing and start performing. You stop improving and start impressing. And impressing people has never built a strong life. It only builds a fragile image. But when you are underrated, something powerful happens. You are free. No expectations, no pressure, no spotlight. You can fail without embarrassment. You can learn without judgment. You can grow without noise. That's a rare opportunity. And most people waste it, because instead of using invisibility to build, they use it to complain. Instead of improving quietly, they try to be noticed loudly. But the truth is, the strongest transformations happen when nobody is watching. When you are not trying to prove anything to anyone. When your only focus is becoming better than yesterday. That's when real growth starts. Think about it. When people expect nothing from you, you have nothing to lose. And when you have nothing to lose, you become dangerous. Because now you can take risks. Now you can push harder. Now you can go further than people who are afraid to fail publicly. Being underrated removes fear. And without fear, you unlock potential. But there's a catch. This phase is lonely. Very lonely. Because nobody understands what you're doing. Nobody sees your vision. Nobody feels your hunger. They just see you as the same person. And sometimes, even the people close to you doubt you. They question your effort. They laugh at your discipline. They don't take your goals seriously. And that hurts. But that pain is part of the process. Because growth is not designed to be understood in the beginning. It's designed to be revealed at the end. Right now, you are in the invisible phase. The phase where nothing looks different on the outside, but everything is changing on the inside. Your mindset is shifting. Your habits are evolving. Your discipline is forming, and nobody sees it. And that's okay. Because this phase is not for showing, it's for building. The problem is, most people quit here. They stop because they don't see results fast enough. They stop because nobody recognizes their effort. They stop because it feels like nothing is happening. But something is happening. You just can't see it yet. Just like a seed underground. You don't see growth immediately. But that doesn't mean nothing is growing. It means it's preparing, and preparation always looks like nothing from the outside, but everything from the inside. So if you feel like you are not being noticed, good. If people are underestimating you, even better. If nobody expects anything from you, perfect. Because now you have time. Time to build skills. Time to build discipline. Time to build a mindset that most people will never have. And when that time is used correctly, the same people who ignored you will be shocked by you. But here's the key. Don't rush to prove them wrong. Outgrow them silently. Because loud success fades, but silent transformation lasts. Right now, you don't need attention. You need focus. You don't need approval. You need consistency. You don't need people to believe in you. You need to believe in your process even when it's slow, even when it's boring, even when it feels like nothing is changing. Because the biggest mistake you can make in this phase is comparing your beginning to someone else's result. You are not behind. You are building. And building takes time. You don't see a building rise in one day, but every day, something is being added, something is being reinforced, something is getting stronger. That's your life right now. You are laying the foundation, and foundations are never visible, but they hold everything. So don't rush this phase, don't skip it, don't try to escape it, because the strength you build in silence will be the reason you don't break in public. One day, people will notice the results. They will notice the confidence. They will notice the discipline. They will notice the change. And they will ask you, when did this happen? And you'll realize something powerful. It didn't happen in one moment. It happened in thousands of silent decisions. when nobody was watching, when nobody cared, when nobody believed. That's when it happened. So embrace being underrated. Embrace being invisible. Embrace the silence. Because right now, while everyone else is trying to be seen, you are becoming someone they won't be able to ignore. At some point, motivation stops working. Not because you're broken, but because motivation was never meant to carry you. It's temporary, unstable, unreliable. It shows up when it wants, and disappears when you need it most. And if your life depends on motivation, your progress will always be inconsistent. That's why everything changes the moment you make one decision. I don't need to feel like it anymore. That's the discipline switch, the moment you stop asking, do I feel motivated? And start asking, does this need to be done? Because discipline doesn't care about your mood. It doesn't care if you're tired. It doesn't care if you're stressed. It doesn't care if you don't feel ready. It only cares about one thing. Did you show up? This is where most people struggle. They wait to feel ready. They wait to feel confident. They wait to feel energized. But those feelings are a trap, because the people who win don't wait. They act first, and the feeling comes later. You don't wake up motivated. You wake up and create motivation through action. That's the difference. So if you want your life to change, you need a system, not hype, not inspiration, a system. Because systems remove decision fatigue. They remove excuses. They turn effort into habit, and habits into identity. Start simple. Wake up at the same time every day, even when you don't want to, especially when you don't want to. Because that's where discipline grows. Control your mornings, and you start controlling your life. Don't check your phone first thing. Don't give your mind away to distractions before you even start your day. Protect your focus, because your focus is your power. Most people lose their entire day in the first hour. Scrolling, reacting, consuming. And then they wonder why they feel unproductive. But productivity doesn't start with action. It starts with control. Control of your time. Control of your attention. Control of your energy. And discipline is what gives you that control. Another key shift. Stop negotiating with yourself. Stop saying, I'll do it later. I'll start tomorrow. I'll just rest today. Because every time you break your own word, you weaken your identity. You teach your brain that your promises don't matter. And once that happens, nothing becomes consistent. So make fewer promises. But keep every single one. Even the small ones. Because discipline is not built through big actions. It's built through small, repeated commitments. Daily. Over and over again. Do what you said you would do. That's it. That's the foundation. And it sounds simple. But it's not easy. Because your mind will fight you. It will look for comfort. It will look for shortcuts. It will try to convince you to stop. That's the battle. Not outside, inside. And the more you win that battle, the stronger you become. You don't need to change everything overnight. That's another mistake people make. They try to become perfect instantly. They create unrealistic routines, extreme goals, impossible expectations, and when they fail, they quit. So don't aim for perfect, aim for consistent. If you can't do everything, do something, but do it every day. Because consistency beats intensity. Every single time. Another truth. Discipline feels heavy in the beginning. It feels forced, uncomfortable, unnatural. But that's because you are breaking old patterns. You are rewiring your behavior. And that takes time. But if you stay consistent, something shifts. Discipline becomes easier. Habits become automatic. And what once felt hard becomes normal. That's when your identity changes. You are no longer trying to be disciplined. You are disciplined. That's who you are now. And once identity changes, everything else follows. Your actions align. Your decisions improve. Your standards rise. Because now you don't act based on feelings. You act based on who you are. And that is power. Real power. The kind that doesn't depend on motivation. The kind that doesn't break under pressure. the kind that keeps moving, no matter what. So stop waiting for the perfect mindset. Build the perfect system. Stop chasing motivation. Build discipline. Because at the end of the day, you don't rise to your goals. You fall to your systems. And if your system is weak, your life will be inconsistent. But if your system is strong, your success becomes inevitable. There's a battle happening inside you every single day. And most people lose it before they even realize it started. It's not a battle against the world, not against your situation, not against other people. It's a battle against yourself, your thoughts, your habits, your fears, your excuses. And this is the hardest war you will ever fight, because you can't escape it. You can't hide from it. You can't silence it completely. It follows you everywhere. That voice in your head, the one that tells you, why skip it today? You can start tomorrow. This is too hard. You're not ready. You're not good enough. That voice feels real. It feels logical, it feels convincing, but it's not truth, it's resistance, and resistance shows up the moment you try to grow. The moment you try to change your life, your mind fights back. Because your brain is designed to keep you safe, not to make you successful. Safe means familiar. Familiar means comfortable. And comfortable means staying the same. So every time you try to step out of your comfort zone, your mind creates fear, doubt, overthinking. It tries to pull you back to what feels easy, back to what feels known. And if you don't recognize this, you'll think something is wrong with you. You'll think, why can't I stay consistent? Why do I keep failing? Why is this so hard for me? But it's not just you. It's everyone. The difference is, like, some people give in to that voice, and some people learn to ignore it. They don't argue with it. They don't try to eliminate it. They act despite it. That's the shift. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's action in the presence of fear. You will feel doubt. You will feel tired. You will feel like quitting. That doesn't mean you stop. That means you're in the fight, and the fight is where you grow. But here's the part nobody talks about. There will be days when you break, days when you feel exhausted, days when your mind is heavy and your body doesn't want to move, days when nothing feels worth it, days when you question everything, your goals, your effort, your direction. And those days are dangerous, not because they stop you, but because they make you want to stop. That's the difference, and in those moments, you don't need motivation. You need control. You need to remind yourself, this is temporary. This feeling will pass. This is part of the process. Because emotions are not permanent, but the decisions you make during emotional moments are. If you quit in a moment of weakness, that moment defines your direction. But if you push through it, that moment builds your strength. So when your mind says, stop, you don't need to win the whole day. You just need to win the next action. One step, one task, one decision. That's how you survive the inner war. Not by being perfect, but by refusing to completely give up. Another truth, your mind will try to negotiate. It will offer you comfort in exchange for progress. Take it easy today. You deserve a break. You've already done enough. And sometimes, rest is necessary. But most of the time, it's just disguised avoidance. So you have to be honest with yourself. Are you resting, or are you escaping? Because those are not the same, and your future depends on that difference. Winning this inner war requires awareness. You need to observe your thoughts, not obey them. Just because you think something doesn't mean it's true. Just because you feel something doesn't mean you should act on it. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who chooses which thoughts to follow, and that realization changes everything, because now you are in control. Now you can say, I hear you, but I'm still doing the work. That's power, real power. And the more you practice that, the quieter that negative voice becomes, not because it disappears, but because it loses influence. You stop reacting. You start deciding. And slowly, the war becomes easier. Not because it ends, but because you become stronger. So don't expect this journey to feel easy. Don't expect your mind to support you every day. It won't, but that's not the goal. The goal is to move forward, even when your mind resists. Because every time you do that, you prove something to yourself. You prove that you are in control. Not your fear, not your doubt, not your emotions. You. And once you win that battle, everything outside becomes easier because the hardest opponent was never the world. It was always you. There comes a point in your life where everything starts to change, not loudly, not suddenly, quietly, internally. And at first, it feels confusing because you start outgrowing things you once enjoyed. The conversations don't feel the same. The places don't feel the same. The people don't feel the same. You're still there, but you don't feel like you belong anymore. And that's where the isolation begins. It's not that you hate people. It's not that you want to be alone. It's that your mindset is changing. And not everyone is changing with you. And that creates distance. A quiet distance. Where you stop explaining yourself. You stop trying to fit in. You stop forcing connections that no longer feel right. And that's hard. Because humans are wired for connection. We want to be understood. We want to be supported. We want to feel like we belong. But growth doesn't always give you that. Sometimes growth takes people away. Not because they are bad, but because they are no longer aligned with where you're going. And that realization hurts. You start noticing things you ignored before. Negative energy, lack of ambition, comfort mindset. And suddenly, you can't unsee it. You can't go back to who you were. And that's when loneliness hits. Real loneliness. Not just being alone, but feeling alone. Even in a room full of people. Because nobody sees what you're trying to become. Nobody feels what you're fighting inside. Nobody understands why you're changing. And sometimes, they don't support it either. They question you. Why are you acting different? Why are you so serious now? Why don't you hang out like before? And you don't always have the words to explain it. Because this journey is internal. It's not something you can easily describe. You just know. You can't go back. So you stay quiet. You focus. You keep building. Even when it feels like you're doing it alone. And here's the truth. This phase is necessary. Because isolation builds clarity. When you are away from noise, you start hearing your own thoughts. When you are away from opinions, you start forming your own identity. When you are away from distractions, you start seeing your real priorities. That's powerful. But it's also uncomfortable. Because you are forced to face yourself. No distractions. No escape. No pretending. Just you. Your habits. Your thoughts. Your weaknesses. And that level of honesty is rare. Most people avoid it their whole lives. But you didn't. And that's why you're growing. Even if it feels heavy. Even if it feels slow. Even if it feels lonely. Another thing happens in this phase. You lose people. Some slowly. Some suddenly. Some without explanation. And it hurts. Because you remember who they were to you. You remember the memories. The connection. The comfort. But you also realize not everyone is meant to stay. Some people are part of your past, not your future. And holding on to them will only slow you down, so you let go. Not with anger, not with hate, but with understanding. And that takes strength. Because letting go is harder than holding on, but necessary for growth. In this phase, you also become more selective. You don't give your energy to everyone anymore. You don't chase attention. You don't need constant interaction. You start valuing peace over noise, focus over fun, growth over comfort. And people notice that. Some respect it. Some misunderstand it. Some walk away from it. And that's okay because this journey is not about being liked. It's about becoming who you're meant to be. And that requires separation. Separation from old habits, old environments, old versions of yourself. So if you feel alone right now, if you feel like nobody understands you, if you feel like you're losing people while trying to grow, you're not lost. You're evolving. This is the phase where you build yourself, without distractions, without noise, and yes, it's quiet. Yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it feels empty sometimes. But that emptiness is making space. Space for a stronger mindset, stronger discipline, stronger identity, and one day, you will meet people who match that version of you. People who understand your mindset, respect your focus, support your growth, but until then, you have to walk alone, not forever, but for now. Because some paths can only be walked alone. Everyone wants success, but very few people want the cost that comes with it. Because success is not something you add to your life. It's something you trade for. You don't just gain discipline, you lose comfort. You don't just gain focus, you lose distractions. You don't just gain growth, you lose the version of yourself that wanted easy. And that's where most people stop. Because they are not ready to give things up. They want to grow, but keep the same habits. They want results, but keep the same lifestyle. They want change, but avoid discomfort. And that's impossible. Because every level of your life demands a different version of you. And that version requires sacrifice. Real sacrifice. Not the kind you post about. The kind nobody sees. Late nights when you're tired but still working. Early mornings when your body wants rest but you get up anyway. Saying no to things that feel good because they don't serve your future. That's sacrifice. And it's not comfortable. It's painful. Because you're constantly choosing between what feels good now and what will matter later. And your mind will fight you every time. It will remind you of what you're missing, the fun, the ease, the comfort. It will tell you, why are you doing this? Is it even worth it? You could just relax. And sometimes that voice feels right because you are tired, because you are sacrificing things others are enjoying, because your life looks harder than theirs, and in those moments, you feel the weight of your decision. You feel the loneliness again. You feel the pressure again. And that's the test. Not when it's easy, but when it's heavy. Because sacrifice is not just physical, it's emotional. You are letting go of habits that gave you comfort, letting go of people who slowed you down, letting go of a lifestyle that felt easier. And that creates a gap. A space where you are not who you used to be, but not yet who you're becoming. And that space is uncomfortable, uncertain, sometimes painful, but it's necessary, because growth happens in that gap. Another truth, you will miss out on things, events, moments, experiences, things that other people are enjoying, and you will question yourself. You will think, am I missing life? But here's the reality. You are not missing life. You are building a different one. A life most people don't have. A life most people won't even try for. And that requires a different level of commitment. You can't have both. You can't live distracted and expect focused results. You can't live comfortably and expect uncomfortable growth. You have to choose, every single day, short-term pleasure or long-term freedom. And freedom always costs more up front. That's why most people never reach it. They choose easy now and pay for it later. You choose hard now and live easier later. That's the trade, and it's worth it. But only if you stay consistent, because sacrifice without consistency is just suffering. And suffering without direction leads nowhere. So your pain needs purpose. Every late night, every early morning, every moment of discipline, it needs to be connected to something bigger, your future, your goals, your vision. Because when pain has purpose, it becomes fuel, not weakness. And you stop asking, why is this so hard? You start saying, this is what it takes. That shift changes everything. Now, pain is not something you avoid. It's something you accept, even embrace, because you understand this is the price, and you're willing to pay it. That's rare, very rare. Another thing you need to understand, nobody will fully see your sacrifices. Nobody will fully understand what you gave up. They will only see the result, And they will say, "You got lucky. You changed overnight. You're different now." But they didn't see the nights you struggled. They didn't see the moments you almost quit. They didn't see the discipline it took to keep going. And that's why you don't do this for recognition. You do it for transformation. Because at the end of the day, this is not about proving something to others. This is about proving something to yourself. That you can endure, that you can stay focused, that you can commit, even when it's hard. And once you prove that, you become unstoppable. Not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger. So yes, this journey will cost you time, energy, comfort, people, but it will give you something far greater: control, discipline, confidence, freedom. And that trade is worth everything. For a long time, it felt like nothing was happening. You were working, staying consistent, showing up every day. But the results? Invisible. No recognition, no major change, no clear reward, just effort, day after day. And that's where most people quit. Because they think, if I don't see results, it's not working. But that's not how growth works. Growth is delayed, silent, hidden, and then one day, something shifts. Not dramatically, not like a movie, but subtly. You start noticing small changes. Your focus is sharper. Your discipline feels more natural. Your habits feel automatic. Things that used to feel hard now feel normal. And that's when you realize you're not the same person anymore. The old version of you would have quit by now, would have made excuses, would have gone back to comfort. But you didn't, you stayed. And that changed you. This is the breakthrough. Not a moment, a realization that your consistency is working, that your effort is building something real, that your identity is evolving. And once you feel that, everything starts to accelerate. You think differently, you act differently, you respond differently, because now you trust yourself. That's the biggest shift. Self-trust. Before you doubted your ability to stay consistent. Now you know you can. Before you questioned your discipline. Now you rely on it. Before you needed motivation. Now you move without it. That's power. Real power. And people start noticing. Not because you're trying to impress them, but because your energy is different. Your presence is different. You walk with more certainty, you speak with more clarity, you act with more control. And that's hard to ignore. Even if people don't say it, they feel it. They see the difference. And some of them will ask, "What changed? How did you do it? When did this happen?" And the answer is simple. It didn't happen in one moment. It happened in silence. Over time, through repetition, through discipline, through sacrifice. And that's why it's powerful. Because it's real, not temporary, not fake, not dependent on motivation. It's built. And anything built lasts. But here's something important. This is not the finish line. This is just the beginning of a new level. Because now, expectations rise. Standards rise. Challenges rise. And you have to keep evolving. Because staying at this level requires the same discipline that got you here. And going higher requires even more. So don't get comfortable here. Don't relax too early. Don't think, "I made it." Because growth never stops. It only levels up. And now, you are ready for the next level. Because you've proven something to yourself. You've proven that you can change, that you can stay consistent, that you can build discipline. And once you know that, you stop limiting yourself. You stop thinking small. You stop settling. Because now you understand your potential, not as an idea, but as a reality. And that realization is life-changing. So if you're starting to see results, if you're starting to feel different, if you're starting to notice that shift, don't slow down, speed up, because momentum is building, and momentum is powerful. It makes hard things easier. It makes progress faster. It makes consistency natural. And if you protect that momentum, you become unstoppable. At this point, something changes inside you. You stop waiting for success to arrive, and you start acting like it's already yours. Not in an arrogant way, not in a fake way, but in a quiet, controlled, undeniable way. Because now, you've built proof, not for others, for yourself. You've seen your own discipline. You've survived your own doubts. You've stayed consistent when it was hard, and that changes how you see yourself. You no longer say, "I hope I can do this." Now you say, "I know I will." That shift is everything, because success is not just something you achieve. It's something you become, and becoming starts before results show up. Most people get this backwards. They think, "I'll act confident when I succeed. I'll believe in myself when I see results. I'll take it seriously when it starts working." But it doesn't work like that. You act first. You believe first. You commit first, and then the results follow. So now, you start moving differently. You don't hesitate like before. You don't overthink every decision. You don't doubt every step. Because you trust your process, and trust creates speed. You make decisions faster. You recover from mistakes faster. You adapt faster. And that gives you an edge, a real edge, because most people are still stuck in hesitation, still stuck in doubt, still waiting for certainty. But certainty comes from action, not thinking. So while they are waiting, you are building. And that gap grows, day by day. Another powerful shift happens here. You stop needing external validation. Before, you needed people to notice, to support, to approve. Now, you don't. Because you've already validated yourself. Through your work, through your consistency, through your discipline. And that kind of confidence is unshakable. It doesn't depend on opinions. It doesn't break under criticism. It doesn't inflate with praise. It stays steady. And that stability is what makes you different. People feel it. They can't always explain it, but they feel it. You're calmer, more focused, more intentional. You don't react like before. You don't chase like before. You don't try to prove like before. Because you know, you're becoming something real, and real doesn't need to shout. Another thing you notice, your standards have changed. What used to be good enough isn't anymore. What used to satisfy you feels average now. Because you've seen your potential. And once you see it, you can't ignore it. You can't go back to a smaller version of yourself. So you demand more discipline, more focus, more effort. Not because someone told you to, but because you expect it from yourself. That's growth, and it shows in your habits, in your decisions, in your results, and slowly, the outside world starts catching up. Opportunities appear, people notice, respect increases, not overnight, but gradually. And the interesting part is, by the time it happens, you don't even need it anymore, because you've already built what matters most. Your identity, your mindset, your discipline. Everything else is just a result, a reflection of who you've become. And that's the ultimate shift. You are no longer chasing success. You are attracting it, because your actions, your habits, your mindset are aligned with it. That's why this phase is powerful. Because now, even if everything disappeared tomorrow, you could build it again faster, stronger, better, because now you know how. You've done it once, you can do it again. And that kind of confidence changes everything. So don't wait for success to confirm your identity. Confirm it yourself, through your actions, through your consistency, through your discipline. Act like the person you want to become, until it becomes who you are. At the end of all this, you realize something most people never understand. This journey was never about success. It was about becoming someone you can respect. Because success can be lost. Money can disappear. Opportunities can fade. But who you become, that stays. That's yours. Forever. And when you look back at your journey, You won't remember every detail. You won't remember every day, every task, every routine. But you will remember the moments you didn't quit. The moments you wanted to give up, but didn't. The moments you felt alone, but kept going. The moments you doubted yourself, but still showed up. Those are the moments that built you. Not the easy ones, not the comfortable ones, the hard ones, the quiet ones, the invisible ones. And that's why this matters, because most people spend their whole life avoiding discomfort, avoiding pressure, avoiding responsibility. And in doing that, they avoid growth. They stay the same. They settle. They live a life that feels safe, but never feels meaningful. You didn't choose that path. You chose something harder, something deeper, something real. You chose to face yourself, to challenge yourself, to rebuild yourself. And that takes courage. More courage than most people will ever understand. Because it's easy to talk, easy to plan, easy to dream, but it's hard to execute. Hard to stay consistent. Hard to keep going when nobody sees you. And you did that. You stayed, you fought, you built, and now you are different. Not perfect, but stronger. Not finished, but evolving. And that's what matters, because this journey doesn't end. It never does. There is always another level, another challenge, another version of you waiting to be built. And now you know how to get there. Not through shortcuts, not through luck, but through discipline, through consistency, through silent work. So wherever you are right now, whether you're just starting or already deep into the process, remember this. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to keep going. One step at a time. One decision at a time. One day at a time. Because that's how everything you've seen in this journey was built. Not in one moment, but in many. Small, consistent, intentional moments. And one day, you'll wake up and realize something powerful. You are no longer chasing the life you wanted. You are living it. Quietly, confidently, on your own terms. And the people who once doubted you, the people who once ignored you, the people who never saw your potential, they will notice, they will see the change, they will see the results. But by then, you won't need their validation, because you already validated yourself through your work, through your struggle, through your discipline. And that's the real victory. Not proving them wrong, but proving yourself right. So don't stop. Not now. Not when it's hard. Not when it's slow. Not when it feels like nothing is happening. Because something is always happening. You are always building, always evolving, always becoming. Even in silence, especially in silence. So stay focused, stay disciplined, stay committed, and most importantly, stay silent. Let your results speak. Let your growth show. Let your life become the proof. Because in the end, people don't remember what you said. They remember what you became. If this message hits you, don't ignore it. Don't just feel it. Use it. Start today, not tomorrow. Not when you're ready. Now. And if you're serious about changing your life, make sure you stay connected. Subscribe to the channel. Be part of this journey. And keep showing up. Because your future is not waiting. It's being built. Right now.